Blockchain Show is a podcast that demystifies cryptocurrencies and distributed ledger technology.
Hello, and welcome back to the Blockchain Show. This is episode 128 with special guest Jeremy Forsberg, the CMO of AXEL. AXEL is a Las Vegas startup that recently announced the launch of AXEL.Wallet, which went live last week on its blockchain-powered AXEL.Network, a global, distributed, and decentralized network secured by Masternode technology to help foster the movement from centralized to decentralized computing, often referred to as the Internet of the Future. Hi, Jeremy. Welcome to the show. Would you mind introducing yourself?
I'm Jeremy Forsberg. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for AXEL, which is a tech company based in Las Vegas, initially building decentralized products for over the last decade, but now heavily getting involved in the blockchain space.
What do you mean by decentralized products? What were you doing before that wasn't blockchain?
So we have an app ecosystem. Actually, it still exists right now called AXEL, and it's a decentralized storage solution. So whereas everything was really kind of concentrated around the cloud throughout the kind of the mid 2000s into the last decade, we created an ecosystem where storage can rest, whether it be on your phone, on your desktop computer, or we even built a internet-enabled storage device where people could access. You could access your files without having to store them on the public cloud. It just gave users greater control over their data and their files. So it was a kind of a decentralized solution, but it was also a private solution. One of the biggest things that the principle the company was founded on was ensuring that users maintain custody of their data, maintain custody of their files, and ultimately are the ultimate deciders on how their files and their data is used.
I've heard that kind of referred to as the fog. Do you like that terminology for that type of stuff? Or I mean, there's fog computing, which is a little different, and then I think Oracle has a proprietary fog, so nobody really uses it. If you ever, what would you call kind of like these? Not the cloud, but, distributed close to the end user type of storage?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of people refer to maybe as a private cloud or, kind of a private cloud ecosystem, private cloud storage. We call it, our kind of product is called the TAC app. We actually have patented that technology. We've been right now we sit at about 11 patents that runs across that ecosystem. So we call it the TAC app, but I think a private cloud, or unified storage ecosystem. There's a lot of different ways that we've used to describe it, but ultimately it's just your own private storage ecosystem. And I think it was important to do that. I've heard the fog as well. We've actually looked a lot into Oracle and what they've done. I mean, they've got some phenomenal technology in and around this space. Obviously, at an enterprise level, we wanted to take that quality and that power of kind of that decentralized storage and give it to kind of everyday users, which we have. We have over 2 million people who've kind of downloaded and signed up to our ecosystem. So
you were doing cloud storage before blockchain or cryptocurrencies came around, and then you saw a fit with the two of them, or were there some more kind of pivots between the start and crypto? I think
blockchain is it really fits with our kind of philosophy and the paradigm of how we viewed data going forward over the next kind of 20 years. And this kind of concept that people should be in control of their data, they should be in control of their files. So blockchain just really seemed to have a kind of a synergy with the kind of the way been evolving our technology over the last decade. We've developed a decentralized product. I think before that word ever really became kind of a common colloquial, and now obviously it's a standard thing we refer to within obviously blockchain and this industry. But we just saw we saw the potential in blockchain, and then we the further we investigated new and emerging technologies, we saw the power of how the distributed web and distributed computing can really factor into what we wanted to do. What we wanted to do ultimately was make sure that people had the most amount of control over their data and over their files, but still have the convenience that the cloud provided. Have that anytime access. I can access my file, my data from anywhere. But the problem with centralized cloud computing is that the major companies ultimately have control. Three major issues is the control and the access that the individual company that you may be using has. It's the access that governments, and while here in the United States, fortunately we live in a democracy.
Generally,
generally, yes, absolutely. There obviously are issues with it, but there are obviously other countries which have no hesitation in just requesting data. And then obviously hackers and nefarious actors who kind of want access to that data. So you have governments who want access to your data. You have, hackers who want access to your data. And then you have companies, and businesses who want access to your data. And, right now the users are kind of at the behest of these three, obviously very powerful actors. And, we just thought that, users should be in control of their data. They should decide it. And so that has always been the core philosophy of how we've kind of operated and built our technology. And blockchain, distributed technology like IPFS just came along, and it just fits with who we are and what we believe in, the kind of products that we want to make. But it still had to be convenient. People have to have that convenience. They have to have that access, because, the only way you're going to get adoption is if, people want to use a product and it's easy to use. I'm technologist at heart, but ultimately at the end of the day, I like things to be really easy to use.
Yeah. I want to take a step back. You mentioned IPFS, and a lot of our listeners will know what that is, and a lot of them won't. And I think it's such a cool technology, such a needed thing. Do you kind of want to go through what IPFS is and how you're using it at AXEL?
Absolutely. So IPFS is essentially it's distributed computing. It takes files and it distributes them, across a swarm of kind of nodes and computers, and it allows kind of files to be kind of spread out, and it also requires a minimal computing power in order to kind of process that. So rather than having to, say, for example, geolocate a bunch of servers and buy into servers across different countries, if you're serving global audiences, if people are part of that network, then they kind of get these fractions of the file, and you're able to pull them together. We are obviously using encryption to make sure that those files are protected, but it's streamlining computer, but it's also decentralized. So it doesn't mean that one file necessarily has to remain on there. You look at places like WikiLeaks, which have moved a lot of their files over to to IPFS, and it's a way to kind of ensure that that they're always up, and it's kind of protected from being closed down by kind of centralized systems. So there's a lot of potential in it, but it's so at the infancy of its kind of journey that we wanted to make sure that we were kind of getting into it in a way that kind of, again, being about adoption, creating a gateway that was really simple and easy to use. Right now, there's, to set it up, if you're an individual, you've kind of have to have a cluster of computers, and you have to, there's a lot of code work that needs to be done. So it's kind of a sophisticated technology that is not always easy to access. What we've done is we've built a product with a gateway where it's drag and drop. It's just like using Dropbox. We have a copy link function, which copies the entire hash and utilizes a link. And so there's a lot of components that we're trying to do to simplify what is right now a complex system.
Making IPFS and distributed files storage easier for just the normal user to like Dropbox, but distributed. Is that kind of your tagline?
Absolutely, it is, and it's essentially what it is. I mean, IPFS, as you said, it's such an important and a great technology, and we just see the potential and the power of how distributed computing can, I think, really set information free, give users greater control. We really believe in data custody, but also make sure that you get the convenience of this kind of uptime. And it'll only get better. We're kind of just tapping into the front end of it. And, there's a long way it needs to go. Obviously we want to balance out the power and the potential to kind of guarantee that these files can float around as long as they're being accessed, while at the same time making sure that, people don't, misuse and abuse it. There's always striking that balance, but we're trying to create a lot of tools to make IPFS simpler. We've created an IPFS search engine. So again, we've created Dropbox for storage on IPFS, and we've created Google for searching the IPFS ecosystem. So we're really excited about these products that are going to come out, and it just fits within our idea that we want to create a content distribution network that people can move and share and manage all their files, within a way that maintains custody and control for the end user. And this is really important for content creators as well. And that's kind of where the blockchain comes in, is really kind of trying to support content creators with creating that immutability on those files so that they can track it, and you can see the origin and the process of that file. Again, creating greater IP protections for content creators, making sure that people all over the world, no matter where they are, we have a lot of users in India that struggle to kind of access some of our the video content that people are sharing with them through our ecosystem because of latency issues. And we really believe that kind of IPFS and distributed technologies can really solve some of those latency issues that you'll see throughout the world in areas that don't necessarily have the greatest network connectivity.
Besides file sharing and using IPFS, I wanted to maybe talk a little bit more about IPFS before I move on. But it's really, trying to recreate the web, but have it be 100% decentralized, provided there's at least one person willing to share a file, then nobody can take it away. It's kind of the details are obfuscated because it's hidden behind, a hash of the file, and that's the address. So if somebody wishes to change the file, then the address changes. So somebody can really take over, or make changes to a file without that person's consent of changing. So it's really such a robust, censorship resistant, decentralized web that they're trying to build, and certainly file sharing companies like yourself will be a big part of it. Another one of the technologies that you're using is kind of like Kanban. You can either kind of move to or how do you pronounce that? Kabin, Kabn.
Yeah, so that's again we're partnering with Kabin, which are and again that's to kind of provide AML, KYC, and kind of validation. So they're kind of a partner of ours that are kind of validating, users. And so we're trying to do is establish as many partnerships. This is such a vibrant industry with so much innovation. And so what we want to do is, ultimately we want to make sure that we're building the ultimate amount of trust. That's one of the great things about blockchain is this concept of reestablishing trust on the internet and making sure that there's, when a file is sent, what file it is, and when a user is using it, that you can validate that. Particularly when we go down the line and we start allowing people to monetize their files using IPFS and our distributed network. We're building a digital asset exchange, which will include people buying and selling videos and ebooks and all sorts of digital content, digital assets. So kind of fusing together validation of the user, validation of the files, and authenticity of the files is such a huge part of that process. So that's one of the Kabin, or kind of a partner that can come in and help us make sure that we support validation of users within that ecosystem.
So it's not just the Dropbox, that's the decentralized, but like a YouTube aspect to it too, where you can monetize these videos.
Absolutely. YouTube, even, Netflix, and iTunes, all these different components. Ultimately what we're doing is building a content distribution network, and we're trying to create this infrastructure. And then we want to partner with developers and all sorts of people to kind of create apps and ecosystems around that allow people to, move, buy, trade, sell all sorts of digital assets and digital content. That's where the world is heading. But right now, so much of the profit and so much of the control is concentrated in, a handful of companies. And those companies, have done a great job in kind of creating those ecosystems. But, I've worked with a lot of content creators in the past, and they're getting frustrated because, streaming services and, video sharing platforms, and they're squeezing the creators, and the creators are now,
getting less and less,
struggling to. Yeah, and it's, and you're a content creator yourself, and how challenging it is to kind of earn a living from creating great content. But content is, what's really driving society right now. And, what we want to do is create an ecosystem, allow content creators to create an ecosystem that allows them to have greater control over their content. There's some great models out there like, BitTube and some of these, these video sharing platforms that are kind of tokenizing the product. And, what we want to do is create the infrastructure for content creators then to build applications. We're building a few ourselves. We're obviously having the IPFS pinning facility right now where, we've got an app right now called Let Me See, which is a private photo sharing, app. We've got about 150,000 users who've kind of signed up to that. And, but we're going to be actually, putting IPFS into that application. So it will be a truly distributed application, but it's already got a lot of users. And what I love about it, it's simplicity. It's giving people greater power and control over how they share their photos. Right now Instagram is making a lot of money off of the content that I put up there. Or probably not me, but I know others. I don't know how many people are interested in my Instagram profile. But, we just want to, our drive is constantly to put power back in the hands of the data creators, as we call them. These are the people who are creating data, not only with content and videos and photos and all that kind of stuff, but it's also just how they go about their business. And we've really admired some of the other projects that are like the basic attention token, which I just think is a great concept for your attention is data, and they've managed to kind of readdress the balance of that. So I think that's just really exciting.
Yeah, if you haven't used Brave Browser, you should check it out. They have a BAT token, which right out of the box, Brave Browser removes all of the ads, and you're allowed to then donate or set aside a certain amount of BAT tokens that you want to distribute to your content creators. And then, Brave Browser kind of handles it all. But even if you don't bother with the BAT token, the Brave Browser is just a really amazing browser that people should give a check out, because it's really not bad. It's pretty nice. There's so much tracking devices that are loaded in your browser that if you just remove that kind of stuff, it makes your internet browsing so much quicker. Oh,
absolutely. I mean, people should just go home and do a test between open their Chrome browser and look at the computing power, the energy consumption, the RAM required to operate Chrome. And then, you go on to, you use Brave, and it's like night and day, it's really exciting. And, like I said, Chrome, Google, they make phenomenal products. There's no doubt about it. But I think people are becoming a little bit more conscientious of.
Yeah. How much do people care about this type of stuff? How much do people care about their privacy? And, how hard is it to get people to think about that?
I think it is challenging. Yeah. Privacy is not really sexy. It's not something that people are like, privacy sexy when it's like, I don't want someone, peering through my windows. But when it comes to digital privacy, it's something that I think people have become, very, very lax at. I mean, I think one of the something that really struck me recently, I was having a conversation with a friend, and she was, talking about, she's about ready to go through a divorce. So it's an intimate conversation. And she was, looking, he's not the greatest guy, he's not been really hands-on dad and all this kind of stuff. And literally not, kind of a couple hours later, I'm kind of, and this was bear in mind, this was a private chat, and this was on Facebook, and it was a private chat conversation in that. So not, I wasn't browsing for anything. I wasn't searching for anything. It was just this conversation. And then I go on to my, I was kind of flicking through one of probably Instagram or whatever. And I got an Audible recommendation for, how to handle a deadbeat dad and all these kind of book recommendations. And it just, even though I kind of know it and I know what's going on, I'm a marketer myself, I understand, how we use people's data. It really felt like an invasion of privacy. And I think more of those things are starting to happen. People are having verbal conversations and they're getting ads for these things. And I think there's coming a point where people are becoming a little bit more conscientious of these things. So, privacy, it's not necessarily sexy. It's not, something. I think some of the stories about Facebook and the NSA and all these kind of, stories that are coming out are forcing people to think about it, a little bit more. But, I think, ultimately at the end of the day, people want convenience. They want an easy life, But, I would kind of say to, a lot of the people out there that right now, it's about $180, probably a little bit more now, of what your value is to Google. It's about $160 for Facebook. That's what your value as a person is. That's what the value of your data is. And right now people are making money off of you as an individual. And, we just think that people should, the data creators themselves should be part of that economic success from their data and who they are.
You had mentioned that people were having like verbal conversations, and the the ads or the Google autocorrect was kind of acting as if it could hear their verbal conversations. I heard that the AI is just so good that it knows what you're about to think. Do you think it's more the AI is that good where they know beforehand what you're going to do, or are they listening on your conversations? Because I don't know which is scarier. I don't know which one it actually is.
Yeah, I don't, to be honest with you, I don't know. I've kind of heard mixed things from different people. Either way, I think both in a sense are both, it's incredible. Look how far technology has come. And, obviously, as an individual, I kind of want an easier life. So if someone else is doing some thinking for me, I'm almost kind of like, well, great. But at the same time, as a human being, I also like to be a little unpredictable, and I don't like always that something else is either listening to what I have to say or reading my thoughts. So it is a balance. And, the AI algorithms are becoming incredibly powerful, and they are becoming, again, it's just almost becoming a little invasive, that, I know it's a robot, and I know it's machine learning, and I know it's probably not a human listening into my conversations at the end of the day, or kind of predicting these things and isn't going through and looking at my Facebook Messenger conversations and things like that. But it still, it just feels a little bit like, yeah, it is. And it is a little bit creepy. And I'm not, majorly paranoid or anything like that. But it was, when you have those kind of intimate conversations, and then, and someone uses those intimate conversations to try and sell you something, you kind of do take a step back and saying, hold on a second here. The world is getting a little crazy right now.
Yeah. You had mentioned BAT, and IPS has Filecoin. Does AXEL.Network have some sort of coin that they're using?
Yeah, we do. We've built our blockchain. It's been released. We've released our wallet, and we do have the AXEL token. And the AXEL token is a utility token that's using to power the hash. And what we're doing is we're linking the kind of the transaction hash to the real world data in IPFS. So, every time there's, you kind of create that transaction and you create that asset, through IPFS or that digital asset, we're creating, we're using a token to kind of create a hash that creates that immutability so that you can track that asset over time, and it helps you manage. And that's what we call our SOAP process, which is to secure, organize, authenticate, and protect, your data and your files. So, that's the token is used to that. And the tokens then also can be used to stake, to kind of power Masternodes. We're utilizing Masternodes to secure our blockchain network. So they kind of have two purposes.
Has there been any unique experiments kind of done with this type of IPFS that has a token that's then used, hashed? Has anybody done anything really interesting with that you can think of?
We haven't seen anything, and in fact, actually, we've in the process of protecting the IP around the SOAP process. So we like to think that this is actually quite new. Obviously, Filecoin are doing something in a line, and obviously they're kind of one and the same. Again, phenomenal technology. We're using their technology with IPFS. But we haven't really seen where that transaction hashing is being used to connect to kind of real world data. So we're really proud of that process, and it really, again, it's the one of the key words in there of the SOAP process, secure, organize, authenticate, is to authenticate, and validate these transactions and the data that's kind of going out throughout the IPFS network. We really want to create more authenticity with how data is being managed in the kind of the distributed web. And, hopefully the whole of the internet will become, much more distributed, and we'll see, instead of HTTPS, you'll see IPFS and as a header, or even something that we create ourselves here at AXEL. But it's just really exciting to kind of see that people are starting to pay attention to the fact that the internet needs to be different. But we haven't really seen anything like what we're doing, which is why we decided to do it. We saw a real potential to enhance, what IPFS is doing. So we kind of created some new protocols and new methods for making sure that we can manage and protect data throughout the distributed web.
We had talked a little bit last week about credit scores and those type of things. I'm looking at Cabin, and I'm looking at your SOAP process, and I'm wondering with the identity solutions provided in Cabin, and you're kind of linking to transactions, do you kind of see any better kind of credit systems, self-sovereign credit score type deal, or anything like that?
I think, certainly with blockchain, I think there's a huge potential for it. Obviously cryptocurrency and blockchain has a huge potential to completely upend and transform the way we do finance. I think the insane thing about credit scores is that how much debt you have to get into how to have a good credit score. So you have to have debt to create a good credit score, and a good credit score is just there to give you more debt. It's this kind of lunacy of the cyclical process. And, ultimately I think, blockchain could create a little bit more of a more validity to what constitutes, a person who can successfully manage their finances and how they've managed to do that via, some of these ecosystems. But yes, I think self-sovereign credit or, that actually maybe is even managed through cryptocurrency or digital assets has a huge potential within this industry. And I think, what you said, kind of fusing together, these identity systems like that Cabin setting up and also, being able to validate, transactions and track transactions and, basically create the sheets through the blockchain, that kind of, show people's, spending and credit history, but that they control. So that it's not like, and then they have the choice to say, I want my information to be shared. I think right now, my credit's being tracked, and I have no say in that. Look at the Equifax thing. This company tracks all your data, and you don't have any choice or say whether or not they do it or not. And then they kind of mismanaged that. Allowed a hack, and people's data was exposed, and we didn't have any say or control over that. That's ludicrous. And then why then they sold their shares in the company, and so that just seems completely insane that a private company has that much control over my identity, and there are no consequences for what's a colossal mistake.
They could make a whole lot of money too. After,
Absolutely,
they sell their stock knowing that it's going to go down. I would imagine they shorted it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's criminal, and it's such a misuse and people are now just starting to see the consequences of that. Actually, my dad, has basically had to restart his entire credit profile from scratch because of it, because someone managed to use that data and they think it was a result of the Equifax thing. So, you're hearing stories now that are just starting to come out about people's identities and their entire credit, history, and we're talking about, people being able to get mortgages, just cell phones, your utilities. It affects everything, and it's nonsense that that us as the user, as the consumer, don't have that kind of control over our data and our identities. And I just think blockchain and a kind of a decentralized and distributed ecosystem has a real potential to challenge that that existing paradigm.
I definitely agree. What's the Vegas tech scene like? You guys are out in Vegas?
Yeah. It's great. It's emerging. We had a real boost here when, with Zappos and Tony Hsieh, kind of really coming in and kind of revitalizing that. And, we've had, also, I think, an emerging scene with blockchain. There's really a lot of really, kind of exciting projects that are starting to emerge there. we've been trying to kind of keep in touch with people within that community, but it has such a huge potential. We've been doing speaking a lot with Blockchains, LLC up in northern Nevada, and they're really pushing hard on some really incredible legislation that's trying to put Nevada at the forefront of blockchain and make it a blockchain powerhouse and really make it a really appealing territory for people to set up blockchain-based businesses, being really friendly to blockchain. So there's a lot of really exciting things happening. Blockchains are the people who are also going to create this, create a kind of a blockchain utopia up north. So we've got a lot of exciting things happening here in Nevada, and it's a no tax state. So it should be really appealing for a lot of businesses to set up.
I heard a little bit about that blockchain utopia. Do you know more about that? I haven't heard about it since it was announced like maybe a year or two ago.
I think it really kind of taps into a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about, kind of self-sovereign identity and, how finance could be structured. And it's basically trying to create a self-sustaining ecosystem around, utilizing, blockchain and cryptocurrency and this concept of decentralization. So there's no one central entity, of control. And I really think it's an interesting experiment because, one of the really exciting things when I was first really getting into cryptocurrency and blockchain was seeing, certainly I think Stellar has kind of gone down this is the potential for kind of microfinance around, and really kind of bringing the unbanked into some sort of formalized finance ecosystem. So, the potential for the unbanked of people who just were prohibited because of the banking infrastructure. And, obviously banking's been around for thousands of years, but so many people are kind of excluded from that because of the both the financial and the technical requirements. And, I think it's just, really kind of playing onto those principles that, the power and the potential of decentralized technology and distributed technology to kind of give people greater control and say over how they manage their data and their finance, rather than, very few entities kind of having so much say and so much sway, and so it's I think that's kind of the vision from what I've discussed with them on how they see that playing out, so but they're doing a lot of really great stuff just within Nevada, pushing legislation, blockchain positive legislation. They're kind of doing a lot of stuff around education and trying to build up education, formalized education, whether it be in school, high school, or further education around blockchain engineering and blockchain jobs. So they're just doing so much really to support the industry, and it's exciting to kind of be affiliated with them. And there's also some really cool a cool company called Concierge, which are doing a lot of stuff with right now you could go to a bar and you can use dozens to thousands of types of cryptocurrency to buy a beer, and really kind of trying to bring, blockchain and cryptocurrency into the Vegas nightlife. So there's a lot of really cool and exciting things. And, and I think, we're really trying to see, really trying to set a light, us being part of the Vegas tech community to really kind of, set the tech scene here on fire.
Very cool. You admit I didn't touch too much on the exchange you're trying to get built with AXEL. What would that be, like a decentralized exchange? What coins would be on? What coins would be exchanged?
So it's kind of right now the proposal is for it to mainly be digital assets such as more focused on content, and you could utilize AXEL tokens within that ecosystem. But we are looking at how we could bring other types of kind of cryptocurrencies to pay for photos and videos, any type of kind of digital content that people want to say. So it's really kind of a focus. The exchange is a focus on digital content and purchasing that. So that's still in an evolutionary process.
Like a marketplace, or
like a marketplace, absolutely. So in terms of actually running an exchange, I think kind of a cryptocurrency exchange or a token exchange, I think we're a long way off from that. That's a whole other project.
I was wondering how you do so much. I'm like, what? You work with IPFS? They're building an exchange. Yeah, I go.
I think that, if my developers thought that we were doing that, I think they'd have heart palpitations. We've got them enough because we've got a few other projects and stuff in the pipeline, including distributed databases. Distributed databases as a service, using IPFS to host full websites, and IPFS web hosting. And these are all things in the pipeline. Plus, integrating our IPFS and distributed computing with our existing core TAC app products and Let Me See, so our photo sharing app. So we've got a lot that's kind of running through the pipeline, but it's really exciting, And again, it's all just to show that how the power of what our network can do, and we hope other people continue to build applications like that on top of it. We want to work with so many talented people out there. It's really exciting.
Can we put this episode on Axel?
You absolutely could. Yes. You could put it on IPFS. Yeah. Our IPFS gateway.
Nice. We'll have to figure out how to do that.
Absolutely. We're running the beta. We're launching the beta, very, very soon for our IPFS network. It's up and running, but, we're just, doing the kind of final testing, but, very, very soon you'll be able to, we'll have a public release of it, and everybody will be able to play around with it. I'm really excited about that.
You mentioned normally I ask people to kind of give me some projects that they think are really cool in the space, but you mentioned a bunch already. Is there any that you missed that you want to talk about maybe?
Like I said, I've kind of mentioned the ones that I really I tend to look at it on a more regular basis. Like I said, I think there's some really, really great projects out there. We've spoken with the guys at Pivx, and I think they run a really cool Masternode technology, really focused on privacy. Dash, I just think Dash is just such an exceptional project, and really kind of took the idea of cryptocurrency to heart. So obviously those ones are from kind of the Masternode community, and I really like what Stellar's doing. Really kind of targeting the unbanked, and I think projects like that are so important. I mean, Cardano's technology is just super sexy and super cool, and there's just a lot. Ultimately, my favorite one is Brave and the basic attention token, because I just think it has such a real world utility for people and how we do that. And again, but like I said, I like, DTube and, BitTube and stuff. They're doing some really cool stuff. I just like stuff where people have actually got a real product that has a real world use for people, that is actually focused on the end user and making life better for people. I think those are the projects that kind of really appeal to me. And, I think we're starting to see that, now that we've kind of cut through the clutter and the boondoggle that we kind of had into 2017 and 2018. And it's just people throwing out white papers. What you've seen has emerged.
Nice way to phrase it.
Yeah. You just seen the kind of, all that, to put it bluntly, all that crap that was out there. It was just crap. It was just, to really see that the projects that actually had a true purpose and a true vision come through, it's like the .com bubble where, the best companies who actually focused on a great product, a great technology, and doing something for people, those are the projects that I think are going to succeed. And we obviously hope to be one of them.
Yeah, there was so much crap. There was so many things like, why is this getting $7 million in 7 minutes? Why?
Well, and it was even like the ones initially that I looked at, I'm like, wow, that looks really cool. And then you kind of look into it and you're like, maybe not, and, look, you're starting to see a lot of ones that, were the golden childs of of ICOs, and they're just all falling apart. Again, it's not rocket science. Like, you need a good technology, you need the right vision, you need a good business plan, and ultimately you need a product that people want to use and a product that solves a problem. It's the same, thing that everybody's had to do since, the dawn of this kind of technical revolution. And it's no different for blockchain, and cryptocurrencies and these kind of, projects out there. So, we all have to, ride on the same fundamentals. And that's, really the basis on that we've done. We've been creating products for 10 years, and, we still want to create products that people use and that solve a problem for people. Ultimately, it's, a tech company is not a good tech company unless they're a solutions company too.
Did your early users make the transition pretty smoothly? Is it completely obfuscated to them, or did they jump on board with going from distributed file sharing to kind of more of a blockchain base?
We're still migrating them over, which is why we kind of created a separate project. We didn't want to, again, because ultimately, we fundamentally believe that our users should have the experiences that they want, and we shouldn't impose things on them. So that's why we've created a kind of a separate project, and that's why we've kind of made sure that we're kind of bringing them with us and on this journey. And so what we're going to do is we are going to eventually put these technologies into the current app ecosystem. But we're going to do it in a way that allows users to kind of, gently come on board. We're not about to impose something on them. We believe that this is, phenomenal technology that will be in the future. They'll still be able to use our app and our ecosystem as they do now. It just have the benefit of being a kind of distributed technology. So that's why we're kind of being very sensitive to our users and wanting to make sure that what they're seeing is the exact same experience. The only thing, the technology behind, great technology shouldn't be seen. What you should feel is the experience and the benefit. You shouldn't have to think about the technology. So, but we wanted to make sure that also that we kind of let people know what's going on, and we're very transparent with how we're modifying our ecosystem. So, we are hoping to see a lot of those users migrate over to that, but we're going to do it in a way that again, we've always said that the user should have choice of how their data and their files are managed, and we're no different, and we want to make sure that they still have that choice.
It always takes the Apple route and be like, I'm going to tell you as the user what you want. I think that was a Steve Jobs type of the user doesn't know what he wants.
Yeah, and as an Apple user, I kind of benefit from that because again, I just want someone to tell me how my technology works, and I just want it to work. I don't want to have to think about it. But Apple's one of the few people that get away with that. There are very few companies can have that kind of balls to kind of tell someone, no, you're going to do this, and you're going to do it the way you like. Like, no headphone jack, guys.
Yeah, sometimes they make bad choices.
Yeah, again, they do it, and then they get away with it, and and that approach absolutely works for Apple. But they also make hardware products, and there's they've kind of got the pedigree to do that, and I think we have the pedigree to do that. But IPFS technology and this distributed technology is so new, and it's so, in some ways, complex to understand that we want to make sure that we provide people with the ability to understand what they're using before they kind of forced into it. But ultimately they won't see the technology in the back. They're not going to be exposed to it. They want to share their files. They want to store their files. They want to manage their content. They want to manage their data. They want to move it, transfer it, whatever. And they're still going to be able to do exactly the same thing. The only difference is that it'll be distributed, and they're going to have even greater control. Cause right now, if they want anytime access anywhere, they either have to leave their computer on, or they have to, hop into the cloud. So, what we're trying to do is just give people choices. That's what we've always done. And this is one of the choices that's going to be afforded to them. Over the long term, yes, that there might be a permanent migration to this, and they'll have to kind of jump on board. But again, we want to do it in a way where they feel like they're part of that journey, because they've been supporting us by using our products, and we want to make sure that we take them on this journey with us.
We've covered a lot of ground, and it moves so fast in this space. Is there anything that I'm missing about Axel, about Masternodes or SOAP, or how IPFS is being used? Anything that you want to talk about?
No, I think we've already had the question, and it's one thing I probably want to address about Masternodes is why Masternodes. Masternodes have had kind of an up and down, uneven reputation. It's always kind of been the kind of the black sheep of the family, I suppose, with how some people.
Why don't you start with what they are? I guess maybe people don't know.
Yeah, so Masternodes, it's just essentially the Masternode is a full copy of the ledger that's updated live. And so what you would do is you have a network of these masternodes, and so you have constantly having these nodes kind of validate. In order to operate a masternode, you have to it works off of a proof of stake consensus, so that you have to stake a certain amount of tokens. And the rationale is that you have all these tokens at stake, that you obviously are gonna be a good actor. It's Masternode masternodes and proof of stake is a lot more energy efficient, which is something that, we're always conscientious of. But it's just a different way to provide the consensus. I really like the technology. I think it creates a really exciting, participation within the community, gives people, feel more connected to knowing that they're operating and being a huge part of this network. And you create a real vibrant community around it. What we want are stakeholders. We want people to participate and be part of our project. So I think it's just a really great technology, and it's something that we looked at going down the proof of work consensus, and we just didn't feel it was the right technology and fit the right solution. So we went down with masternodes, in order to secure our network. So, but we saw a great potential in it. Obviously it's had bad reputation, but then again, a lot of proof of work have had recently with 51% attacks and a variety of different issues that originate from that. From the not least the energy consumption, which has been hugely damaging. So I think masternodes have real potential within this community. And what we've done in our masternodes is we've wanted to give people kind of the ability to kind of come in at different levels. So we have 3 tiers of masternodes. So, people can join and participate and take part. But that with the top end tiers, that there's still, enough, staking required in order to safeguard and secure the network. So, we've really tried to think a lot. We didn't just jump into blockchain and just jump into cryptocurrency. Obviously we're not operating cryptocurrency, we're operating a utility token, but we just didn't jump into this whole blockchain crypto industry at whim. We didn't, we could have obviously ridden the wave a long time ago, but we kind of took our time to make sure that we kind of got the right technology, and we kind of tried some things, and it had to feel right for our company, had to feel right for our technology, had to feel right for our product, and I think we've really found our rhythm now with the technologies that we kind of brought in and brought together.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people who think that proof of stake can't work, and you hear that all the time. But Dash has been running proof of stake. It's maybe a hybrid, but still, masternodes for a long time. And there's other projects that work just fine with proof of stake. Bitcoin is going proof of stake with their Lightning Network type stuff. So I don't know. People may argue with that last statement, but I'm going to stick with it. So what's a round dollar figure that somebody would need for the lower tier, middle tier, and higher tier to go ahead and start up staking?
The entry level is the tier 3 nodes are $1,000, and then tier 2 is $10,000. The tier 1s currently aren't able to participate. They will be initially utilized by AXEL to safeguard the network until we have the full network up and running with all the nodes operating. Then what we'll do is we're going to work with either data centers or various partners who will then take over those nodes so that it becomes fully decentralized. So, but it's important for us to operate those nodes initially to make sure that we safeguard the network, because we are running a product ecosystem. So we have an obligation to our users as well to make sure that we safeguard the network and that it operates effectively. But eventually, once the tier 2s and tier 3s are fully operational, then we'll look to getting migrating the tier 1s over to partners, trusted partners who can operate those.
I want to ask a little bit if there's crossovers between users and masternodes, but first I want to mention that if you heard about what Facebook is going to charge for their masternodes, basically not really masternodes, but whatever they are, they're going to have 8 different verifiers of transactions on their coin. It's going to cost $10 million to buy one of those licenses.
Yeah, it seems a little not entirely sure of how Facebook's kind of going about it. There's just they've had such a bad year of how they've treated user privacy and how they've kind of handled themselves. I mean, again, look, you can't deny they're a phenomenal company. They're a phenomenal technology. They've completely revolutionized things. and they've done a lot of really incredible things, and there's no denying that. But, given kind of where they've kind of sat with the kind of the philosophy that they've had over the last kind of 12 months, it's going to, I'm a bit befuddled as to why they feel the need to go down this route. Is it genuine, or is it, kind of tapping into a community and creating goodwill? I don't know. I think, it's not exactly like they need the money. So. Yeah.
I had a Twitter user to kind of ask me recently to break down the difference between like a public blockchain and a private blockchain. And, you got opinion on public blockchain and private blockchain and whether public works at all and kind of like the differences between those two? It's kind of like a simpler question, but.
Yeah, I mean, we actually looked at going down that, doing actually a hybrid of a public and private chain, and I think there's a lot of potential in both of them. I think it really depends on the need. Obviously the public blockchain, it kind of creates that true decentralized and lack of control. But, the technology in itself, I think has a lot of potential for private networks, particularly if you're looking at, for example, healthcare or, government, in which you need to make sure that you kind of, maintain that kind of authenticity. I mean, hybrids, I think, are going to be really, really, really exciting, which is something that we've considered doing ourselves, creating a hybrid public-private blockchain, so that the public chain kind of validates the transactions, but you can create kind of a private network with individuals and validate transactions directly if you've kind of built up a trusted user network. And so I think that there's a lot of potential, but it really depends on the need of and the purpose, but behind the chain, with kind of cryptocurrencies and kind of needing to maintain that kind of authenticity. I think public is, has a tremendous amount of weight to it, but certainly depending on certain industries, whether it be healthcare, supply chain, kind of private blockchain networks, I think have got a lot of merit to them. And we've even said, here with our blockchain that, we would work with partners to kind of create their own blockchain networks. We've been speaking a lot to some of the local government here about, and they're looking at how they can, put records on the blockchain to create that immutability and that authenticity, and, speaking to them about, kind of private blockchain networks. So it really depends on the purpose behind them. But, I'm not, we're not, vociferous about kind of one type. It really kind of depends on the need case for it.
So getting back to the masternodes and users, what percentage, or do you think there's a lot of people who are running masternodes that are also contributors of content within the AXEL network?
There's no doubt that there will be, that there will be people who kind of straddle, and then that becomes obviously a challenge to make sure that you meet the needs of them as a content creator, but and also as a masternode holder. And we're very conscientious of that. But ultimately, I think that the way we've structured our network, the way we've kind of are building out our technology, we feel that we ultimately we do meet the needs of both. We want to make sure that the network is operating, and that masternode holders are being effectively managed and supported and informed of what's happening with the network and the product development, but that the users are also able to create products that really solve a problem for them, and that obviously give them greater control over their content and data, and the ability to monetize that data and that content in a way that they see fit, and also people to kind of developer stakeholders who want to build on top of our network. So we have a lot of expectations from different sectors of our stakeholders. But I think it's really exciting. The more people that we get involved, it presents a challenge, but it also it keeps the purpose and the passion behind what we're trying to achieve. Really that weight comes from the community. So we're really excited about a variety of different types of users within our community.
I want to throw Ethan under the bus and make him ask a question.
I guess my only question would be, what are some of the barriers to mass adoption?
It's ultimately, and look, I've achieved mass adoption, through kind of some of the marketing, on our core products. We managed to sign up 2 million people to that. So, I have an experience of the challenges to get this there. That wasn't an easy get. What we had to really focus on was a product that solved a problem for people. Ultimately, it has to be a product that people want to use. And, again, I think I said it earlier, that technology has to disappear, and it can't be a fundamental part of the user experience. People have to see, okay, this is solving this problem, and it's a real problem that I have, and this product, I can understand it and I can use it. And I think, right now for mass adoption within blockchain and cryptocurrency, I think you can easily get people to adopt blockchain, but they just can't see the technology. And it's, I've always said that industries and companies adopt technologies, users adopt solutions, consumers adopt solutions. So what you have to do is, as a company or as an industry, you have to adopt this technology. And, for example, healthcare could adopt blockchain technology, and you would have millions of people using the technology, but they wouldn't see it and they wouldn't be exposed to it, because ultimately at the end of the day, what they want is the solution for them. So I think what we have to do is we really have to think about where this technology sits within the industry or within a company, and then what solutions that you're layering on top of it. People aren't going to adopt blockchain as a consumer. What they're going to do is they're going to adopt what the blockchain is affording them the ability to do. So, I think as an industry, we have to really think about where it fits. And that's what we've done as a company, is really think, okay, how does blockchain fit into this? Because it would have been easy just to go create some random bunch of stuff. We've really been thinking about our technology and, where we are as a company and who we are as a company. And, our values haven't changed since we've been creating technology. It's about giving people custody over their data and their files and giving them greater control and say over how they manage their content. So that's always been what we've been about. And we've created hardware and software that is we've created patented technology that is aimed at that. And, I think what's happened is when we talked a lot about a lot of the shit that came out in 2017 and 2018 was, it was just like, here's some idea. I just want to do an ICO. And it wasn't focused on the end user. It wasn't focused on what solution that you're creating that's going to, make your impact on the world. And, what is as a company, what's your vision? That's why, I keep going back to them. That's why, Brave and the basic attention token, they were really they're really passionate about it, and they created a technology that really served a real purpose for people. And I think that's what's really exciting. And those are the companies that are going to succeed, and it was the same, that thing in 2000 when the dot-com bubble burst. It was companies that created good businesses, that created good products, that created, great technology that served a real purpose to people, that succeeded. And we're still seeing them today, with Google and Amazon and, some of the major tech giants that emerged out of the ashes. And I think it's the same principles that you had back then and that you have now, is that you create a great product powered by great technology that is a solution to the needs that people have. And otherwise you're just imposing, something random on people. So, and that's why,
unless you're Apple.
Absolutely. Yeah. Unless you're Apple, they're kind of the outlier. They're like, they get away with stuff that you're just like, everybody's kind of lowering prices on stuff, and they increase the price of their phones and their computers by $300 and they still get away with it, and I'm guilty of it. I still buy their stuff. I'm like,
I like their stuff. They're privacy. They got their little privacy oriented too, as well. So
yeah, I think they create great technology, but I mean, when they, this latest price hike on all their stuff recently, I'm like, that's ridiculous. That's outrageous. Still not going to stop me paying for their stuff, so they can get away with it. That's starting to frustrate me a little bit, because now, I pay for cloud, storage and Apple Music, and, I buy all my videos for them because I have Apple TV. So I'm totally hooked into the ecosystem. I'm like I'm like the target customer for Axel to say, hold on a second here. Let's set you free.
Yeah. So where can people find more about Axel? Where do you like people to find you on?
Yeah, so we have AXEL.Network is our website. That's the current project for blockchain and the network. They can also find our existing products on apple.org. We have a Telegram and a Discord channel. Obviously, those can be found through AXEL.Network on the website. We have a YouTube channel. Actually, we produce a lot of videos that talk a lot about the industry as well. So, we're very vocal on YouTube and on Twitter, Axel Unlimited. So we're very visible. We're out there. We're easily to contact, and we love people coming to talk to us. We absolutely love it when people come into Telegram and Discord and ask us questions. And one of our senior executive team, usually always checking in. So it's not just, we have some great moderators and community managers, but, the senior executive team are in there and they're talking to people. I'm in there. Lee, our VP of technology and blockchain, Brian, BizDev, so we Rick, our product, VP of product development. We have these people that are in there and they're talking to people. We want to be as connected to our community as possible.
Awesome. Thank you so much for talking to me today. It was a really great conversation, very knowledgeable in this space, and I think this project's going to do quite well.
Well, thank you very much. I was thrilled to be on.
Awesome. Thank you. It was great meeting you, Jeremy.
Thank you very much.
All right. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you to Jeremy and the team at Axel for sponsoring this episode of The Blockchain Show. If you like what you heard, please visit their website and connect with the links in the show notes. If you've not already, please subscribe to this podcast wherever you enjoy listening and give us a kind rate and review. It really helps others find the show and helps to spread the word on blockchain. Thank you to Roberta for helping us set up this interview, and thank you very much for downloading this episode of The Blockchain Show. We'll be back next week.